This is a conspiracy in progress. Follow the Hidden Scoreboard Podcast to stay up to date on all your favorite sports. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Be sure to like and subscribe. Now it's time for a conspiracy in progress.
Welcome back to the podcast, the Hidden Scoreboard, where we can find conspiracies and sports, our two favorite things. Like the intro said, this episode's a little different than what we normally do. This is a conspiracy in progress. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jordee, also known as Bass Pro Shop Hat. How are you, Jordee?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. So thank you to everyone who's been listening, who's been watching, whether you're somebody that's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. We really appreciate you guys. We love the comments. That's what the Bass Pro Shop Hat comment is about. Somebody said that Jordee didn't know anything that he was talking about on one of our clips. The funny part about that was he wasn't talking in the clip. I was. So I just thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, are you ready to get into this conspiracy in progress, Jordee? Do you have any thoughts on what today's episode is about?
No, I have not a clue.
Okay.
So trying to ask you won't give me any hints, so I don't know.
Well, and I think it's something that you're going to have your own opinions on. So I wanted to just, as always, get an honest reaction from you. So if you're new to the show, guys, the way we do it is one of us will do the research. Mostly it's been me so far. I know Jordy's working on a few things, and the other one will react to the information. We want an honest reaction here. We want to have an honest discussion. This isn't a show where we plan out every little thing that we say. We're real people. And, I want to watch real content. So we want to produce real content. So once again, if you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever it's at, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for leaving a review. Thanks for any way you can interact with us helps it push out into the algorithm, right? So continue to do that for us so we don't have to rely on just our friends and family to watch the show. With all that being said, are you ready for the conspiracy in progress, Jordee?
Yeah, I want to add one thing to that too.
Sure.
Don't forget to drink your H2O, guys.
That's right. Stay hydrated, baby.
That's
Summer's right around the corner, and you want to stay wet.
If anybody wants to endorse us, I drink a bunch of water, so yeah I'll take any water endorsement, honestly.
I would be open to like Costco or Kroger brand, Liquid Death.
I mean, we're drinking the Aldi brand. It's
100%.
Yeah.
Those fruit waters they have slap. They are absolutely. I mean, it's like my favorite thing. They have it's like a variety pack: strawberry, grape, raspberry, and peach. Maybe.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They all taste great except for the raspberry. It has a slight taste of medicine, but I still drink it. It is what it is.
I just wanted to put it out there in case I know we're getting flooded with offers, but that's one
right
to take. Yeah.
And just so you guys know, the goal isn't to necessarily monetize and advertise a bunch in our show, but if we could get paid, that'd be cool, But we're not gonna accept an endorsement for anything that we don't use or like or enjoy. So if you own a business and you want to get plugged, let Jordee know. He's all about the plugging. So
let's get into it.
All right, here we go. So today's conspiracy is, and I'm just going to ask the question: have you seen the way the MLB season has started with these torpedo bats?
I have. I watched the opener with the Yankees.
Yep. So unless you've been living under a rock, if you follow sports at all, which if you're watching our show, we're going to assume that you watch sports, right? The torpedo bat is on the scene now. It is the Yankees are just like crushing it, and they're not the only team or players that are using it. It's just they're getting a lot of the credit. I think the guy that invented the bat was a part of their staff or associated with the team in some sort. Yeah, does that sound right?
Yeah. They had some sort of guy that did the research and development on it.
Right, the R&D.
Yeah.
So like just to put in perspective, they made history. The Yankees, they're in the opener, really through the first 4 games here. They're the first team to have 9 players hit home runs in the first 4 games. They're the first team to ever to ever do that. And they've had 4 players on that team that have hit at least 3 home runs during that span. I think it's Volpe, Aaron Judge, Jazz Chisholm Jr. I think are the 3 players that are hitting the home runs there. So
yeah, but I don't think Judge is using the Torpedo bat, if I remember correctly.
You're right. Great thing to bring up. So and that's like something I'll definitely kind of touch on here in a little bit, because here let's just kind of jump into it, okay? That way, because I don't get ahead of myself. But you're on track. You're already on track.
I'm just absorbing, from the few things I've seen. I was checking my FanDuel one day, and I seen on the Yankee side it was like 20 points, and I'm like, something's got to be wrong with that, right?
Right.
And then so I get on Google and I type in Yankees, because it was like the 6th or 7th inning, and they had like 20 points, and I'm just like, so I don't know. I did a little research prior to this without knowing this, so.
And that's why you're the co-host. So during these games, the Yankees have scored 41 runs, making this the second highest total in franchise history through the first 4 games, just behind 48 runs in 1950. So it's been 75 years since they had hitting like this. And back then the rules were a lot different. The pitching was, I think there was moments where the pitching was just as good, but maybe not as consistent. And I think that's really helped with the scoring here. So a lot of people who are listening to this might go, okay, they're using a bat, they're scoring runs. What's the conspiracy? The conspiracy is that, in my mind, this is another example of the MLB being desperate for ratings. They are the baby of the media for sports. As far as like the amount of coverage they get, I feel like golf gets almost more coverage. Major League Soccer is starting to get more coverage. Basketball definitely gets more coverage. And then the NFL is they're the king of media in the sports world right now. Yeah. And I feel like them allowing this bat is a way to get more offense. And they believe that more offense is going to equal more TV viewership, because that's where all the money is coming from for these sports franchises. And it's not just the MLB. You see the same thing in the NFL and NBA. But my point is, in an NFL game, they're going to sell out almost every game. NBA, they're going to have a pretty good amount of fans in the stands. But if you're somebody who watches baseball on TV on occasion like I do, one thing you notice every summer is the stadiums are empty. So that tells me they're not making sales on merch or concessions or tickets when people are there. So who's paying these players? It's the TV contracts. So if the MLB believes the answer to that is more offense, then they're going to do whatever it takes. That's what I believe the conspiracy is.
I mean, I think you gotta, when you have in the MLB, I know you mentioned NBA, NFL. Mm-hmm. I can't relate on golf. I don't know how they get paid, but the MLB doesn't have a salary cap. So these guys are getting insane amount of deals compared to NFL and NBA.
Right. And the money's got to come from somewhere.
They got to make it up, or they're going to just go bankrupt, or, whatever the case may be. But they got a lot of money to fill the void.
Yeah. Or the owner will have to go into his pocket and shell out more and more and more. Yeah. So it's, I think this is a situation where people would go, well, is this a conspiracy or is this smart business? And it could be a little bit of both. I think part of my gripe with this, and maybe I'm the old man here, the get off my lawn guy. But I feel like some sports have more traditional things associated with them. And when you start changing too much of it, it turns into a whole different game. Like, I'm okay with rule changes that break tradition that are safety related, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, so like for, in NFL, for example, if there's a specific play that gets outlawed, like a chop block, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you can still block somebody without just totally ripping their kneecap out from underneath of them. I think that's an okay rule change. But for them to allow this bat, and I know that the media is saying it's legal and all this other stuff, I just feel like here we go. We're changing so much down to the actual tool that's used that maybe we start to actually change the integrity and the history of the game. I don't know. So anyway, the way this episode's going to unfold, before I continue on my rant and my tirade, you guys can tell I'm already a little fired up about it, is I'm going to give Jordee some other examples where I feel like the MLB has favored the offense. I'm also going to discuss the MLB's tolerance for cheating as far as in the best interest of ratings go. And then we'll review a couple different bats that the MLB's already went through the history here that have been banned. And then finally, we'll share our own insights and opinions, which we've already kind of gotten into. Like I said, it's a conspiracy in progress. So anyway, Jordee, before we get into the offensive advantages that I wanted to mention to you, I do have a clip I was going to play here. This is Colin Cowherd from The Herd discussing with another member of the media the Torpedo bats. It's about a minute-long clip. Is that okay if I play this here for you?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
This Torpedo bat's fascinating, where they've shifted a little weight to the barrel, to the label. I said it's like Gordon Ramsay's good regardless, but if you give him the freshest seafood and the freshest ingredients, it's jet fuel to a great chef. The Twins had it all last weekend and couldn't hit. The Yankees, who led baseball in homers last year, are off to a torrid start. What do you make of it?
Listen, I love it. I love the innovation. And my question is, how many home runs do you think they hit with regular bats? Probably a lot, to your point, right? Like, this is Ramsey with good ingredients. These are really good hitters. You know, you give it to a team that doesn't know how to hit, and it's like, well, are they going to do the damage that the Yankees were able to do? I'm not sure. I will tell you this, that the innovation in baseball has been very slow over the years. And this is something that I can get behind. And I just love, wasn't it the guy that was he was like a scientist, and then didn't he work for NASA? And now all of a sudden he's in baseball and he invents this bat. I love it.
So in my research, before I even get into the offensive advantages, I'm telling you, I must have went through 40 or 50 videos, Jordee, where I was trying to find somebody in the media that wasn't thrilled about this. And it almost feels like it feels like the media is getting paid to not just cover it, but to encourage it. Like it feels like an actual conspiracy where it's like, hey, we're not going to give you hush money. We're going to give you promotion money here. Talk about this on your show. Act like you love it. Act like it's a great thing for the game. And I don't know. I was surprised that I couldn't find the lack of people I found upset about this. You know, and I'm not like a Yankees hater. You know, I'm a Reds fan, so we suck anyway. But it's like, I just get, before I even get into the other stuff I have here, it's like, nobody's upset. Nobody thinks this is weird.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I haven't seen anybody upset about it. And if there's a rule that changes in the NFL,
anything,
they bring something new to
outrage.
The NBA, it's just complain.
You're not even seeing pitchers complaining about this.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone's going to be upset, I would imagine to be a pitcher who goes, whoa, this is an unfair advantage against me. So anyway, so lately the MLB has put in some pace of play initiatives, like with the pitch clock they did 2 years ago. It was a 30-second clock. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Did you know that this year they shortened it to 18 seconds?
I didn't.
So now there's people on base, it's 18 seconds. So it's even faster now. And that pace of play is a huge advantage to the batters. If I have to rush to get my pitch ready, or think about my strategy for the batter, or rely on my pitching coach to call in a sign, or my catcher, I've got almost no time to do that. Like, I got to make a decision and just go with it. And I also can't spend too much time trying to pick people off at the other bases and, control some of that pace of play. The pitchers have almost completely lost that now with the rule change. So, that was something that was a little frustrating. And I just said it wrong, by the way. It's 20 seconds this season without people on base. And once they are on base, it's 15 seconds.
That seems pretty short. I mean, I
pretty quick.
played baseball my whole life. Some people have a real slow wind up and approach to even before they're in their position to throw the ball.
Right. It's like the catcher gets it, he throws it to you. You take 3 or 4 seconds maybe just to walk back to the mound.
And gather yourself.
Now you're at 10 seconds. Best case scenario, I'm trying to, I'm shaking off a pitch or two that the catcher's signaling to me. My batting, the pitching coach might be signaling something to me. I've got almost no time. So, that's just
my hand, dry it off.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of little quirks different pitchers do.
Well, and then now on top of that, you've got changes to the ball. I want to do a whole nother episode about juiced balls because I believe that they come in and out of play at times when the MLB needs better ratings or for specific games that they want to make sure are pretty explosive. But they've changed the ball over the years. They've banned, like you mentioned, like the stuff on the pitcher's hands. You can't use the sticky tack anymore. Which maybe that is cheating. Maybe it's, I don't know, the pine tar on the hands. In football, you're allowed to use a glove to catch the ball better. So, I know it's a different sport, but I can't imagine like I'm not allowed to have some kind of grip to throw the ball better. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then like on top of that, I found some evidence that certain nationally televised games, there's games that are scheduled on every team's schedule as like to be announced. They're going to play 162 games, right? And they have the to be announced on there, and it starts to get that way. And if you'll notice, the teams who are performing better offensively will start to have more televised games. So these MLB teams are even incentivized not to just win, but to make sure they have pretty dominant or exciting offense to get on TV once again to make some of that TV money. So I just think these are all examples of the MLB allowing or encouraging teams to be more offensive dominant, and it's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and change the bat. Go ahead and do this to it. It's legal, I had another video, kind of somebody talking about the rule changes. So just in kind of case you missed what I just went over there, here's like a more summarized version of it for this season. But it's just another example of the MLB wants offense, just like the NFL wants more passing and more passing touchdowns. They definitely want more offense. Here it is.
Announced today that there would be a few rule changes in Major League Baseball for the 2024 season, one of which the players are not happy with. Rule number 1, there is now an 18-second pitch clock with runners on base versus the current 20-second pitch clock. Last year, MLB implemented the pitch clock for the first time. 1 year later, they're speeding it up. The players are not happy with this, and I'll get into that in a second. The second new rule is that there will be 4 mound visits instead of 5. Third rule is if a pitcher warms up before an inning, he must face at least one hitter. And then the fourth change is runners lane to first base will be widened to the infield grass, allowing more room for the player to run through. After the association issued this statement stating that player representatives voted against these rule changes, stating that the players strongly feel that these additional changes on top of the pitch clock being added just last year are unnecessary and offer no meaningful benefit to the fans, players, or competition. So we'll see how this progresses.
It's funny. I had to like dig to find anything kind of related to this. And I found this one guy with this one video out there. It's like you would think anything the players push back against would get reported. It's not out there. That's like it. That's like it. I challenge anybody to find me other clips of that and send it to me. You can send it to us through our email, thehiddenscoreboard@gmail.com. But I'm telling you, I looked. I don't go into these shows that we do, Jordee, haphazardly. I mean, I don't know. Once again, more, it's like I said before, maybe, not necessarily hush money, but push money for the positiveness of this thing. But just very frustrating.
I feel like in MLB, though, the players aren't really, they don't pull public stunts like the NFL and the NBA. They don't.
Okay.
In the past, they don't. As far as I remember, I'm not a diehard into, the and like you said, we don't see as much media coverage,
Right.
but they don't generally complain as much as NFL or NBA players.
That's fair. Okay, I'll give you that. That's something. So maybe we circle back around to that because, like I said, this is a conspiracy in progress. I'm hoping that we get more and more information out. So the next thing I wanted to kind of bring up is this part's not a conspiracy. This is true. The MLB has definitely allowed cheating or turned a blind eye to it for a period of time to help with their ratings. So like the easiest one is the steroid era. You and me, we're a few years apart, but I'm sure you remember Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and the home run battle they had.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I don't know what else you're going to unfold. So, but yeah, I definitely, there's a few points I want to kind of go back to that we went over already, but I definitely remember, that era was awesome. That was when I was really getting into baseball.
Yep.
Kind of finding it interesting. And the reason I found it interesting is because it was entertaining to see somebody cranking that many balls out of the park.
Yeah, because I didn't grow up like a baseball fan. I got interested because of Mark McGwire. He had that 72 home run season. And I remember I had a poster on my wall and my cousin comes over and he's like, he's a Reds fan. He's like, why do you got a Cardinals poster? Like, because it's sweet. And he's like, well, dude, we're all about the Reds. Like, we don't root for them. So anyway, that was like the beginning of me becoming a Reds fan. So anyway, we know that they turned a blind eye to that because the Mitchell report was in 2007. And it was almost like 5 to 10 years later before they had actual what's the word I'm looking for? Like the actual fans, the public put pressure on them to investigate it and to do something about it. Yeah. MLB wasn't going to do anything. The other thing is, in the 20th century, so you're talking about, obviously that goes up to 2000, but really it's known in the 60s, 50s, 70s. They talked about how the clubhouses would have these greenies, is what they called them. These green pills in the clubhouse. And what it was it was a methamphetamine that the players would take. It helped them focus. It helped them be locked in. And that was a performance enhancing drug. And that went on for a long, long time before they did something about it. And then the other one, and this is a little bit more recent to reference, is everyone knows about the Houston Astros sign stealing scandal when they won the World Series. And they were banging on the trash can or whatever when certain pitches were coming. It's so obvious looking back at that, even as a fan. How did the MLB not know? They knew, and they chose to do nothing about it because ratings were good. And they had a giant market like Houston. I mean, it's one of the biggest cities in America, one of the biggest cities in the world. And with a diverse amount of culture there, you got people locked in and paying money to watch baseball. MLB is not going to do anything about it until they have to. So that's kind of like I said, that's some examples of where I could see other things that the MLB has let slide that are much more egregious than the shape of a bat. And that's one of the reasons I think this is a conspiracy. And then kind of like my last thing here, Jody, and then I definitely want to hear what you have to say, is something most people don't realize is how many times the bats have already changed in the MLB. So kind of on the other end of the argument here, right, playing devil's advocate, they've had wooden bats in the past. They've had bamboo bats, aluminum bats, what they call hot bats, like a cork bat, which they've outlawed. And then there's also been other alterations they've had. And then even like certain weights that they were trying to put in the bats and stuff, and the MLB is shut down. But I think any professional sports organization, whether it's NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, it's always comes down to money. And if there's a situation that they have to tolerate or an exception they have to make for a while and call it legal to make money, they're going to do it. So I think this is just the newest version with the Torpedo bat that is out there. So those are kind of my points on why this is a conspiracy in progress. We're seeing record home runs hit, great hits coming in, but what's the cost of the integrity of the game? So that's kind of how I feel about it, where I can see that this is just another ploy for the MLB to boost ratings and make money, but it's a temporary solution. It will not last. That's how I feel about it. What do you think?
Well, I think that they need to make it more interesting. I know people are big on the, keep it original.
Sure.
But
like me.
Yeah, but like, let's be serious. I mean, let's just say the Reds for the example. They just went 3 or 4 games in their series with not a
1-0.
not a single score the whole time,
Yep.
from them. That's not fun for a fan. That's not fun. Nobody that's kind of interested in the sport, or a kid that's wanting to watch it or maybe get into it, like that's not fun.
Sure.
So I think that the entertainment needs to be better. I know you've talked about the bats changing a lot in the past.
Right.
I don't know obviously a whole lot about that, but it sounds like obviously it was just a complete different bat in general, different material.
Right.
There are several things to it. Well, if they made these after all this, they've always just had this guideline. This is the material you have to use. This is your length, the weight,
right.
Whatever. I personally don't see a problem with it. If you're falling in the lines, you see a baseball bat and it just gradually gets bigger and bigger. How many times do you hit off the top of your bat? Hardly ever, right?
Right.
So if you're just distributing most of that wood to an area where you're ideally supposed to make contact with the ball anyways, and you're still staying in all that guidelines, you're just taking wood away from one area and putting it in another. I don't personally see a problem with it. But in that same breath, it seems pretty simple. So why was it not done forever ago?
Well, so like if you were a pitcher, you'd be okay with it. All of a sudden, if a guy does make contact in the sweet spot, it's got, I don't know, the data's not out there yet, but I would say you've got a 30% more chance of getting it in, past the infield.
I mean, I would obviously, if I was a pitcher, not be happy about it.
Right.
But if you were a pitcher questioning it, and then the organization's just like, look, I mean, here's the rules to it. I mean, it just is what it is. It sucks. Everyone's got something of their job that doesn't seem fair or that sucks. And it is what it is. And it's not like it's breaking a rule. It's not like they're,
Sure.
doing anything technically illegal. Now, like you said, MLB is notorious for years down the road then having a problem with something.
Right.
But
what I think is going to happen is we're going to get closer to the All-Star break this summer, and they're going to make the announcement that, hey, these bats are going to be gone next year. You heard it here first. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
I think the pitchers and I think the NFL, the Players Association is going to push back because now we're being rushed on the mound. We literally can't do anything to get a better grip on the ball, to throw it better. The strike zone is actually wider now. And you're giving players this bat, and occasionally you're juicing the balls on me. Like, something's got to give. I know we want ratings, but something's got to give. I like the pitch clock. Last year I went to a minor league game. We live in Dayton, Ohio. So, we go to the Dragons game from time to time. And it was one of the best baseball experiences I've had because they did a 24-second pitch clock. And it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. The pace of the game felt perfect. It actually felt natural. But there does come a point where is something too fast, and is the batter getting too much of an advantage? I mean, sports, I feel like growing up we're taught as kids, sports is supposed to be fair, and it really comes down to skill. I feel like there comes a point where skill's getting took out of this, and the offense is just getting such an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely two sides to it. I think if the Yankees weren't the ones that come out and have the bat initially and score the 20 runs, I don't think it would even have been covered as much as it is, honestly.
So that goes back to my point originally. That's why I think it's being so encouraged. They're the biggest market in baseball. They have one of the biggest brands in the world. Their logo is probably just as recognizable as Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Nike.
Yeah.
I would say if I took a Yankees logo to a third world country, most people would know what that logo is.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why the MLB, and I'm like I said, I'm not saying I have facts on this. I'm just theorizing. People are getting paid money to cover this positively, and it's going to put more eyes on the Yankees. On top of that, they're the ones predominantly using the bats. Other people are, and other teams are now. But when you're first to something, that does a lot for your popularity. And I feel like Major League Baseball is going back to that era in the 90s and early 2000s where the Yankees dominated everything. And it's like I feel like Major League Baseball wants the Yankees back. I think this is bigger than the bat itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think too, talking just kind of about the home run thing, how many players that are getting their, quote unquote greatness or their legendary status taken away from them, Hall of Fame status taken away from them for drug enhancement, for steroids, for cheating. So and obviously, taking steroids and a baseball bat's two different things. But if you're modifying a bat,
right,
what's the difference of me modifying my body?
And that's the thing. Me as a fan, and maybe this is where other people would disagree with me, but like I'm almost okay with the steroid thing because the fair part of that is, yeah, you might play better, but you're also inheriting a level of risk. And it's like play at your own risk, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm taking something and I go from batting 300 to 500, but I'm now 3 to 5 times more likely for a heart attack. I mean, that's the inherent risk of the situation. Now, I know MLB shut it down because what they were afraid of long-term was collegiate athletes doing it and high school kids doing it, because even at those levels, if a kid thinks or a parent even, or a mentor or guardian thinks that this kid has an opportunity to become something, it could be introduced way too early. That's the problem with that. You know? But as an adult, I'd say, bro, poke yourself in the butt with that thing and get out there and swing that bat.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
And I'm not really personally for it, but it's just like,
yeah, I am just with adults. But the problem is people will always break that line. So there's like no, you know what I mean? You have to draw a hard line on it, unfortunately.
Definitely. But it just kind of goes back to the point of he had so many home runs because he was juiced up. This guy had so many home runs because he
used a different bat.
The bat's juiced instead of my arms are juiced. I don't know.
I agree with you. I agree. And at the end of the day, like if we use Barry Bonds as an example, he still had to go out there and do it. Like I work out pretty regularly, 3 to 5 times a week, and I'm not shredded. I'm a big lump of goo. If I take steroids and I continue to only work out how much I work out, I'm probably not going to get that much bigger and leaner.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work. And that's what people don't necessarily realize. Just because somebody's juiced does not mean that they're putting in enough work. There's guys that get caught juicing that are just average.
Yeah. I'm not going to take steroid for 2 weeks, not hit the gym, and then be able to go hit a home run.
Right.
Back to back to back on every pitch. I mean, there's work that goes into it.
Exactly.
It's not just an enhancement that just makes you 10 times better because you take it.
Right. So like I said, I think this whole thing is actually bigger than the bat. I think this is about the MLB getting ratings, getting money, and growing their most popular brand. Coincidence that the Yankees were the ones to figure this out? I think not. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm calling this whole torpedo bat situation a conspiracy in progress. So anything that you want to leave the listeners with, Jordee? I know that you're producing all kinds of good music right now, and I know you got some other stuff coming up. Is there anything you want to tell anybody about?
I don't think so, not yet. Just trying to build up a catalog of stuff to release. I had released a few earlier in the year, and I kind of slowed down with it a little bit, but I want to make sure I have enough stuff lined up. So right now, just kind of working on perfecting to my knowledge of what perfection is with music, what I have currently, and just working to get better each time I do something.
If you guys want Jordee to help make a custom song for the Conspiracy in Progress or the Hidden Scoreboard, please drop a comment and let us know. Jordee, where can people find your music?
Pretty much anywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, SoundCloud. I don't personally run a YouTube, but my music is on YouTube. It's Jordee, Jordee, 2 E's on that. Yeah, you can find me just about anywhere. You can even use me on Snapchat or TikTok if you wanted to.
Oh, go find them, y'all. So yeah, once again, thanks for listening, guys, liking, subscribing. If you guys agree that this is a conspiracy in progress, be sure to, comment below, like us, leave us a 5-star review. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You guys can find us every Monday at 12:15. We appreciate you guys watching. Have a great week.
This has been a Conspiracy in Progress. Thank you for listening to the Hidden Scoreboard Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all the platforms. Go leave us a 5-star review. That's what pushes us out in the algorithm. Also, we want to hear from you. What sports conspiracy should we cover next? Drop a comment below. Thank you for listening.